Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. I am your host, Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week, Lemmy. Do I even have to say his last name? I don't think so. Of course, from Motorhead. And Scott Weiland, of course, now with Scott Weiland, or Weiland, depending how you want to say it. And The Wildabouts, their new album, Blaster, is on Pludge Music. You can head over and do that. And joining me to talk about Lemmy and Scott is the one and only Mark Strigl of Talking Metal. And Mark, do we tell them what the rest is?
Sure, go ahead.
And of course, producing or a producer of That Metal Show, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Mitch. Yeah. Thanks. It's pretty big news to me, personally. I won't be in front of the camera or anything like that, but I will be behind the scenes as one of the three main producers on the show. I think officially my title is coordinating producer. So looking forward to that and can't wait to jump in there. I'll be with them for 4 months on season 14. The old coordinating producer is having a baby, so I'm taking over for her.
Wow, that's cool. When you think of icons, and we're talking about one today with Lemmy, That Metal Show is iconic for fans. I mean, people just love that show. And of course, my co-host on some of the other episodes, Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake, is going to be a guest on That Metal Show in March. So I guess you'll get to meet Joel.
Cool. Yeah, I know he's been on before, I think, doing some of the in-studio guitar stuff. So that's great. And I haven't even been really briefed on exactly who the guests are. I have heard a few interesting names, which hopefully they'll confirm. And I don't even know how much I'm supposed to talk about it in public because
right.
Because I know VH1 Classic is very controlling, and even Eddie Trunk has said that That Metal Show is their show. They own that show. Eddie Trunk doesn't own it, and Don Jamieson doesn't own it. It's a property that belongs to VH1 Classic. So they are very controlling and like to have like to know what's being said and how it's being said. So as I mentioned on Talking Metal, I probably won't be talking about it all that much on my personal podcast.
Right.
But listen, if any of your listeners are out there and they're going to be in New York City on a Tuesday when we tape, sometime within before the end of May, please just reach out to me at mark@talkingmetal.com, and I can definitely try to coordinate some tickets so you can come see a taping.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Anyway, it's a great show. But so let's move on then to Lemmy.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Iconic. I mean, almost 70 years old as he corrects you in the interview. 69, not 70.
I know, but he's born in 1945, but yeah, it is December, but okay. So I said he was 70 years old in the interview, and he goes, no, 69. But okay, close enough.
I didn't know, a lot of times people like to hold on to 29 and never admit they're 30. I didn't know if that was one of those things, but I guess he actually is 69, right?
Yeah, up until December, I guess he is. But, well, there you go. The fun thing about interviewing Lemmy is I think he takes some joy in busting the interview's balls. He doesn't give you these long-winded answers. And he makes it a challenge for you, and I think it's entertaining. I've interviewed him.
It's a good listen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been 3 or 4 interviews with Lemmy, and every time, man, he just makes you feel like you're on the hot seat. There are other guys, when you listen to Dee Snider or Bret Michaels of Poison and stuff, you ask them one question, and you can put your feet up, and 45 minutes later, the answer is still going on because they're telling stories and they're connecting it to other things. And I mean, I love those kind of interviews because it takes the pressure off of me, but all right. So I'm sure folks are going to get a kick out of Lemmy making me squirm a bit, but it's all right.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I enjoyed listening to it.
Oh, yeah. And then, by the way, let's mention, they're talking about the tour, the touring they're doing this summer, the summer festivals, and then, of course, a run through the U.S., which I'm assuming is going to include some Canadian dates. Motorboat 2015 at the end of all that. They are working on the follow-up to the Aftershock record. Lemmy, of course,
Wow.
talks about it during the interview, and so you have a listen to what he reveals about that. And of course, there's the Grammy nomination um, for Best Metal Performance, the category, and of course, it's for the track "Heartbreaker" from the Aftershock album. So that's exciting, and you know,
Yeah.
we talk about that. And if that wasn't enough, after listening to Lemmy, we come back and talk to Scott Weiland. Or do you say Whelan or Weiland?
I say Wallen, Scott
Wayland?
Wallen, but who knows?
I don't know. And I certainly don't mean to make fun of his name. That's not the point. But let's go with Scott Weiland for today. And
Sure.
him and the Wildabouts on Pledge Music have a new album. And what can I tell you? Scott's an interesting character. The first time I ever met Scott was it was at the Velvet Revolver press conference in Toronto. Before the first album came out, this was to sort of do the whole big to do. Hey, we got an album coming out, and I was in the bathroom at the hotel, outside of the press conference room at the urinal, and Scott walks in and starts using the urinal next to me. And he goes, "Hey man, how's it going?" Or, you know, it's like,
Right.
"Great, have a good press conference." You know, "Hey, yeah," you know. And of course, when both people are at the urinal holding their junk and having a conversation,
Yeah.
it's it's just like, huh? Do I tell the wife I met Scott while I was holding my? Ooh,
Yeah.
this is not gonna go well, is it? But yeah, that's the
Right. Right.
story. So
Right.
that was funny story to tell all these years later. But hey, enough about that. We'll talk more about Scott in a minute. But here is the one, the only Lemmy. It's been a while since I've last spoken to you. So uh, tons to talk about, right? All kinds of great stuff going on. You're working on the new album, the Motorboat, everything. So uh, if I can, let me start with this. How's your health? How are you doing?
All right, I'm regurgitating myself into myself. I'm getting better.
Yeah. You've reached 70 years now. Is there a point where you say, okay, enough's enough, I've done it and I have a
How
legacy?
long? How long?
Well, you're 70 years old, correct?
No, 69.
Oh, okay, 69. Oh, well, you'll be 70 later this year. But
70th December.
right. Do you at some point do you just say, listen, I have enough of a legacy. I'm just gonna stay at home and
Remember,
enjoy.
that's how you feel, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you can carry on for years, fucking people around. Ha! I don't see why I should stop when it gives me so much pleasure to see the dismay on the faces of the music business as we succeed again.
right. Yeah. Well, I just thought maybe after the health scare, but okay. So let's look at the Grammy nomination. Uh, you're in the Best Metal Performance category for Heartbreaker. You won back in 2005.
Four.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it was four. I think the presentation was in five, but I think it was the four, recording.
Right. But the award category, anyway,
Yeah.
date notwithstanding, is it important for a band like Motorhead to be selected and even win a Grammy, or is it sort of like, my fans are more important than some statue?
I don't see as it hurts the fans as getting a Grammy,
Hmm.
and I think it's always nice because you can stick another finger up, say, "Ha, you bastard, 6 months to live, eh?"
Yeah, they said that a long time ago that you wouldn't make it
Yeah,
that
they
far.
did.
Um, are you going to attend the Grammy nomination or the Grammy ceremony, I should say?
Well, we don't go to the red carpet one.
Right,
Heavy metal stuff comes with the Latin jazz bands and all that the
right.
day before, We just go into this small building and get presented with it.
That's right. And they just hand it off and say, all right, well, you can go home now.
Mhm.
Aftershock came out in 2013. A fantastic album number 21. You're in the studio now, January, working on album 22.
Yeah.
What keeps you writing songs? I mean, you certainly could just hit the road and play, quote unquote, your greatest hits. What keeps you making new music?
Because we have new music,
Okay.
you know. We're not a cover act.
And you don't
You
get
know, here's one little song that's been really good to us over the years.
right.
You know, we're not one of those bands.
Right. Do you does it bother you though with the state of the industry in terms of people not buying new albums and the illegal downloading? Does that sort of take away from what you do and you just say, ugh, why am I bothering? Or is it just you just have to do this?
It makes us less money, but I mean, we do it anyway.
Right.
You know, because I mean, we didn't think we were going to make any money out of songwriting when we started. In fact, I never wrote a song except I think I wrote two with Auckland, and I didn't think of myself as a songwriter at all. You know.
Are you surprised with the success of Motorhead?
Yeah, always, constantly, every day.
Yeah, you go, oh my God, how did this happen? You're heading on tour soon for where are we going here? You're going through U.S. in late August through September, and you're doing the festivals starting in May.
Yeah.
In Europe. Tell me a little bit about
so we were to South America before that as well.
Right. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But if you can, tell me about the European festival. I see I'm up here in Montreal, and we have the festival called Heavy Montreal, which you've played before.
Yeah.
But festivals in North America don't really seem to do that well. We have Heavy Montreal in Montreal, but there's nothing in the rest of Canada. There's some stuff that goes on in the States, but Europe, really, it's an entire industry, right? So why do you think that is?
Because the people in Europe are more loyal, you know.
Right.
I mean, most of them are in Germany anyway, and France, you know, you get a couple in Britain. But like, the German fans are really loyal. I mean, they'll go and see anybody they liked 20 years ago, as well as the people they like now, you know.
Right.
It's just a very healthy attitude, I think. I don't think you should stop listening to somebody just because somebody else came out, you know. I never did. I still listen to Joe Lee Lewis, Little Richard, you know.
Yeah.
A long time ago, right? And the German fans are like that. The European fans are like that. You know?
Yeah.
Besides which, a lot of people don't go to any parts of Europe, you know.
It really is strange when you think about it that, you know, Canadian fans and the North American fans, we're very much flavor of the month, right? And
seems to be getting that way, yeah.
Well, even back in the 80s, I mean, we went from Debbie Gibson to Tiffany to Poison to this and that, and you look at the European
That's the thought, isn't it? Yes, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I mean, look at Europe. They've been fans of Status Quo since like '68, Motorhead since '75, Black. I mean, they just hang on dearly to their bands. So
yeah, because a lot of them do, but a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorboat.
I never understood it. Why?
No. Yeah, I don't understand it either. But maybe it's just sort of the society. I mean, you know, Canada and the States, we're very much buy something and throw it out, whether it's a Bic lighter or something. And Europe seems to be more about traditions. So.
Yeah, well, you're short of money.
Yeah, exactly. Motorboat, 2014, you had Anthrax and Kill Devil Hill and a bunch of those bands on there.
Down, yeah.
Right. 2015, you know, and I have a press release here that says after you're done touring the States, you're going to culminate it with Motorboat 2015. Have any of the bands been announced, or are you still looking?
No, we're still thinking about that.
And tell me a little bit about those cruises. What's the?
Well, I've only done one.
Right, and how was it for you?
It was great, you know. I got the owner's cabin.
Mm-hmm.
I was very pampered. Always after, it was only 4 days, you know.
Yeah, but still, is that sort of the wave of the future? These cruises, that's sort of the new concert experience. We've done the clubs, we've done the theaters, we've done the festivals. This is sort of the next new thing.
Oh, it's actually new. In the Liverpool days, there was cruises on through old ferries. Used to go out with 10 bands on, you know, and come back. That was in the same day, you know.
Right.
But like the Royal Irish and the Royal Daffodil, they used to go out on cruises with bands on. So it's not really new. It's been going a long time. I mean, I just found out when we started to look into it that it's been going on for years here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Is that, do you want to do more, or, I mean, is the second one it, or do you want to have a third, fourth, and fifth one?
I don't know. See how it goes, you know.
Right, we'll see how it goes, yeah.
I mean, I think it was great, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I haven't actually been on one, but I have a lot of friends that are in bands that have been on them, and they all say it's the most wonderful thing in the world, so.
Yeah, all them kids stuck together on a boat, like 3,000 kids, and there's no violence, you know.
Right, there's no violence, and you can't get away from them. So let me just quickly get back to the follow-up album. You know, Aftershock was a couple of years ago. Going into the new album, first of all, does it have a title at this point?
No.
No.
No, we have nothing at the moment, nothing.
And you might say that jokingly, but is that the way you approach a record? You don't sit here and have 75 demos that you try to polish. You just go in there and whatever hits you, hits you?
Yeah. We just go in and blow, you know, and that seems to work for us.
It seems to have worked for quite a long time.
We work under the knife, you know.
Do you get adventurous musically at all, or do you just sort of say, no, listen, we're Motorhead, dude, and you're going to get a Motorhead album, and if you want to hear, you know, synthesizers, go listen to Europe. Like, how, is that how you approach it? Sort of like you've got a sound and that's it?
No, we do all kinds of weird shit. I mean, if you listen to the albums, you'll find out. I mean, we did a blues song on the last album.
Right.
We did a track on Night in 16 a few years ago that didn't even have guitars on it.
Right.
So we'll do anything, you know.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I have listened to the albums, but for some reason, I guess maybe it's just your voice. When I hear you singing, it's just Motorhead, and whatever's going on around, to me at least, almost becomes inconsequential. It's just, no, that's Lemmy singing, dude. That's Motorhead, period. Thank you.
Okay.
You know, that seems to be how it works.
Yeah, it is an unusual voice.
I would say it's the perfect metal voice. I mean, it's certainly a great metal voice. What's the timeline on this? You sort of convened now to start recording. When do you hope to have it out by?
Well, we usually take about 2 months to do an album, maybe 3.
Okay.
So anytime after that, we'll then get a release date, you know.
Okay, so if all goes well, it should be out by May or June, just in time for the festival.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, that'll be great. You know, I've spoken to other bands, like recently Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, and they say they're not interested in making new music because when the fans hear it, they usually go for a pee break. Do you, when you put out a new album, look forward to playing the new songs, or do you keep that in mind, like, okay, let's not put too many in the set list because the fans...
Yeah, we don't put too many in, we put 2 in usually.
Okay.
Maybe 3, you know, that's about it.
And that's sort of the nice balance, right?
Yeah, well, you know, kids like stuff they know, but they also like stuff they don't know, but not so much, you know. Because like when you're in an audience mob scene, you know, you want to be one with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the whole audience singing along to an old standard is great, you know, fun for them. But also, you've got to put a couple in to make sure you're not, you know, an old joke band.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to make sure you keep it interesting for yourself as well.
Yeah.
2 words, Jimi Hendrix. You spent some time with Jimmy back in the day.
I did.
What would sort of be your best Jimi Hendrix story?
I don't know, really. I mean, he was just a nice guy, you know. I used to score acid for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he was just a great, gentle guy, you know. I mean, all these tales about him beating women up a couple of years ago, I never saw anything like that.
Right.
And I saw him a lot, you know. And I was in the same hotel, and you know.
Did you learn anything from Jimmy? I mean, You know, I know.
I learned that I wasn't going to be a guitar player.
That's actually a good one. Um, yeah, that's kind of funny. So, in terms of now the health issues that you had recently or last year, and the touring and stuff, do you look at touring differently in terms of you're going to need to go shorter runs and
Yeah, we're going to have to slow down a bit, but that's okay, you know. I mean, everybody gets old,
right?
even you.
Listen, I'm going in for heart surgery at the end of the month,
Are
so
you?
yeah.
Well, good
So
luck, man.
thank
Good
you.
luck.
Yeah, it'll be heart surgery number 2. So I know exactly that I'm not 15 anymore. I'm
Yeah, right. You're not
unfortunately,
immortal.
yeah, unfortunately, very, very, very well aware of it. Mickey D has I don't even know if you want to call it a side project or just sort of a pickup band, Nordic Beast. Have you
I
have you
know, I haven't heard him yet.
you haven't heard of that at all?
Well, he doesn't play him to us, you know.
Right, right. Is that something that at some point you would like to also do a bit more of? I mean, I know you've put out some solo albums and stuff.
Well, I've got my other band called Headcat, you know.
Right, that's the one that does the more sort of 50s Stray Cat kind of
Yeah,
music.
we just played 3 shows last week.
Oh, did you really? Oh, that I
Yeah,
didn't know. And how was that?
it's great. Great.
Is it important for you then to go back and play the music from your youth? And does it help you reconnect with what you're doing now?
Well, it's so much important as it's fun, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think of things in terms of important, you know. I
No.
think of things as do I want to do it? You know?
Well, then speaking of that, is there anything in the music business that you haven't done that you always wanted to do?
I'd like to get a bit higher in the US charts for the next one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
possible, you know. I don't know if it is, really. I think 21 is pretty good.
Aftershock was 21 or 22, correct?
Sorry, could you speak up?
Aftershock ended up being number 21 or 22 on the U.S. charts.
I think it was 22, yeah. It was pretty good for us first time.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I'm actually surprised that you would mention that. I mean, do charts really matter? First of all, do they matter, period? And then do they
It's always
matter?
nice, you know. It's always nice and it bumps the gig money up a bit.
Really? I have to say I'm amazed that you would say something like that because it just seems to me that Motorhead was a band that played by its own rules and did its own thing and just sort of had a middle finger to sort of, corporate rock.
Yeah, but if it succeeds, then we got them twice.
Okay. Okay. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Do you
If
think?
if we invade their space and become a hit in their space, then we fucked them twice, didn't we?
Oh, wouldn't yeah? That I never thought of it that way. If you take over their space, that
Yeah.
actually would be that would be something to crow about.
Yeah. Crow.
Crow away. Is
Ah!
there is there anything then outside of the music biz that you'd want to accomplish? More movies, be a talk show host. Is there anything else that you haven't done professionally that you'd like to do?
No, not really. No, I've always fancied the rock and roll, really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a weekly show of some sort, but they're not a talk show necessarily.
Yeah. I think a talk show would certainly be interesting.
Yes, it would be.
What was I going to ask you? I remember what I was going to ask you. It was reported in articles last year that you had pretty much given up on drinking. Is that the case?
No. I just gave up drinking Coca-Cola and Jack Daniels.
Because
I went back to vodka and orange.
Okay, because I remember one time at a show in Montreal, I was backstage, and you had in each hand a 40 ounce of vodka, and unless my memory is wrong, I believe you managed to finish them that night, and I was like amazed.
I finished one of them, yeah.
Yeah. So is that still part of the Lemmy mystique? I mean, are you still knocking them down?
Well, it's supposed to be part of the rock and roll mystique, you know.
Right.
I mean, You know, you go backstage with bands nowadays, you got 10 bottles of Perrier water. You know, it's not right. There's something wrong with that intrinsically.
You mean lime-flavored Perrier is not rock and roll?
Huh?
Lime-flavored Perrier is not rock and roll?
No.
No.
No, sir, it's not.
It's not. Oh, that's great. Have you? And we spoke about the album before. Are there any titles for the songs yet, or you really have nothing ready to go yet?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's afraid nothing to tell you. I'm afraid no.
Does that ever scare you that you're going to have nothing? I mean, did you get there and say, "Okay, we've got nothing. Let's get started," and then a month later go, "Oh crap, we've still got nothing. What the hell are we going to do?" Has that ever happened?
No, it's never happened. We'll come up with something.
And so where do you get your inspiration from at this point?
Aftershock was Mickey's. Motorhead was mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Inferno was me and Mickey. Phil was Kiss of Death.
Right.
Real love ago.
Yeah, Phil is great. I think we should, of course, remind folks to check out the iMotorhead.com. Lemmy, always a pleasure. Is there anything else we should add?
No, I think we just about covered it.
I think so too, actually. And I just love always pleasure talking to you and seeing you in show. The last one I saw was the Heavy Montreal performance you did, and it was blistering. I mean, it was riveting. You had 40,000 people eating out of your hand. So great stuff.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Much. And thank you. And I wish you well, and I'm looking forward to what 2015 brings for Motorhead.
Right. Well, as soon as we come up to Canada again, come seriously.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Lemmy.
Okay, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And there you have it, folks, my interview with Lemmy. Mark, I don't think he needs a last name. It's sort of like Cher or Madonna. You just say Lemmy.
I think people definitely
understand. I think people understand. Are you a huge Motorhead fan?
I'm definitely a big Motorhead fan. It isn't like one of my top 5 groups, like Maiden, Ozzy, Kiss. Right. Trying to think who else would be in there. Possibly Zeppelin. It is one of my big groups, but I do love them, and I really like the record "A Perfect Day," right, which was kind of a strange Motorhead record. I think it's one of the moments, I believe, where they had 2 guitar players going at once, and it was kind of a more commercial sound. Great album, great overlooked album, and I know I'm not alone on that because I was flipping through one of Martin Popoff's review books, and he had just written a review on that, 10 stars, raving about how it was one of the best Motorhead records. And it's a record that you'd probably never hear Motorhead play a song off of ever again. But a great record for any of you people who know all the typical Motorhead stuff. Definitely do yourself a favor and go check out A Perfect Day.
As for me, I'm not this huge Motorhead fan, but I've had a chance to see them live many times because different festivals and promoters and stuff that I've known or worked with have had the band in town or the town that I was in, and just live, it is just an experience. I mean, sonically, they pound you over the head, and you can't not appreciate Lemmy. He's the man, right? As they say, that's the expression the kids use, right? He's the man.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, just such an amazing history, and going way back to being Jimi Hendrix's roadie back in the day.
Yeah.
And he was the guy who would go score Jimmy drugs and stuff. And he has a book which I haven't read, but it's on my
to-do list.
Bucket list. To-do list of things I want to books I want to read, and it's got to be an interesting story, to say the least.
And you mentioned real quick there that Kiss is one of your favorite bands, and of course your co-host John works with Ace, and they announced recently an Australian and New Zealand tour, which that's really exciting. I mean, man, I'd love to be a roadie on that one because great country. Wow. So I'm glad to see that Ace's tour is going on.
Now, wasn't he supposed to play there a number of years back and it got canceled or something? Is that correct?
Probably, but that seems to be a lot of the American bands. I mean, Skid Row had that problem once. Bullet Boys, all kinds of bands. For
Right.
some reason, either getting visas or just the cost of getting there
Yeah.
sometimes becomes prohibitive. But hey, Ace is going, and I know that any Aussie fans listening to this are probably going to go and are probably very stoked about it. But as a Canadian fan, I'm like, okay, let's go, dude. What are we waiting
Yeah.
for? Come on.
Get up to
Hey,
Canada.
get
Yeah,
up, get up
definitely.
to Canada. Speaking of Canada, let's move on here to Scott, and I say speaking of Canada because he just did a short run in the Canadian West with Scott Weiland The Wildabouts, and if anybody's interested, there are entire shows posted on YouTube. I mean, the entire 75-minute set you can find on YouTube of Scott Weiland The Wildabouts in I think like Vancouver and Lethbridge, Alberta, and places like that. So. Scott, Velvet Revolver, Stone Temple Pilots. I will say this for disclosure. I was given a hard 10 minutes. That means that somebody was listening in, and at 10 minutes, they were going to hang up on me whether I was done or not. I was told absolutely no Stone Temple Pilot questions, which is fine. Listen, I understand that when these guys call me to promote something, they want to promote something. I'm a mean to an end, and you got to you got to be willing to play that game and say, yeah, I'll take the interview, and if those are the rules, that doesn't bother me. But I did get to ask him about Art of Anarchy, and I did
Right.
get to ask him about Velvet Revolver, and
Cool.
his answer about Velvet Revolver was very interesting to me. And of course, Art of Anarchy. Listen, in the last couple of days, couple of weeks, a lot of stuff has been coming out. Bumblefoot has posted stuff, and Scott has said he's not in the band, and all that wonderful stuff. The interview I did with Scott was about a day before the news of Art of Anarchy hit the mainstream media. So, um, there you go. But
Right.
head over to pledgemusic.com, look up Scott Weiland and The Wildabouts. The album is Blaster. There are songs available to stream and download currently on the Pledge site. And I got to say, they sound great. I mean,
Yeah.
they sound like rock songs. Good rock
Scott
songs.
has always taken a lot of, criticism in the press,
Mm-hmm.
and even going way back to when first, Stone Temple Pilots first came out, they were called, a Pearl Jam knockoff. They weren't original, and immediately he was never the critics' darling or the press darling. But for me as a fan personally, the guy, whether it's Velvet Revolver or his solo material or Stone Temple Pilots, he's continued to just put out decent songs, good songs. He's always seems to be attached to bands and projects that put out great hooky rock songs, and in my book, that's a winner.
Oh yeah, and that first Velvet Revolver album that he did was bloody brilliant. I mean, the second one was sort of tired, but the first one was great. I mean,
Yeah, I
fantastic
like the
album
first four records. I mean, I really was a big fan of them. I saw them
of
at
Stone Temple.
concert,
Yeah,
and yeah, I really liked them a lot, a
yeah.
lot.
And I did have one Stone Temple Pilot question ready, and I thought maybe I would spring it and be sort of ballsy, but then we sort of ran out of time and we got into the Art of Anarchy and stuff. But I was going to ask him about Sex Type Thing and War Machine because
Mhm.
I somehow had to combine Kiss and Stone Temple Pilots into a question, but it never
Yeah,
got asked. So next time, if I get a next time with Scott, we'll ask him about that just for us Kiss geeks who
just
love to.
what being this a similar sounding riff,
Yeah,
or yeah,
we'll see. It is the same riff, and I wanted to know who was the fan in the band. Was it you? Did you know? Was it accident? That kind of.
yeah.
And I'm sure he's answered that question a million times before, and I'm sure fans listening to this will send me 18,000 YouTube links of where he talks about it. And when that happens and people go, that question's been asked before, I go, yeah, but I wanted to ask it, and I wanted to have the question for me. But all
Right.
right. Anyway, let's listen to Scott. My 10 minutes with Scott, and then we'll wrap up. Here's Scott. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. It's a pleasure to speak with you again. Last time was on the first show of the Velvet Revolver tour in Toronto, so it's a great pleasure to connect.
It's been a while then.
A very, very, very long time. So, why don't we just get started and start talking about the new project, the new band, Scott Weiland or Weiland and the Wildabouts. Is this a band or is this a one-off project?
It's a band. It's it's like the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Right.
That type of band. I mean, it's like I'm a Tom Petty's he's a heartbreaker too, and I'm a Wildabout. So that's kind of what I liken it to. I mean, not sonically, but although I am a huge Tom Petty fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, and I've known these guys for a long time. They did play in my solo band
Right.
for Happy in Galoshes. So I've been playing with them on and off for like almost 9 years.
Wow.
And we used to be a 5-piece, and we slimmed down to a 4-piece, so that make it so it's a meaner, leaner sound, and more space between the notes.
Now, I was reading the press release and all that, and it says that you really wanted to make a rock record. Of course, the last record you did was a Christmas album. What brought you back to making a rock record? Why not go be more experimental?
Well, it's different than both of the rock bands I've been in. It's more of like a garage rock, indie rock kind of a feel. The producer we worked with is a great producer, produces mostly indie alternative bands, and so it's not really a rock as far as like a hard rock thing. It's got that kind of indie culture sound about it, but it is still rock. So I think that STP fans and Velvet Revolver fans who weren't into, like, say, experimental records like Happy in Galoshes,
right,
would definitely be into this because it's got some big riffs on it.
Yeah, really. Well, I've heard a couple of tracks that are on the Pledge Music, and it sounds great. So tell me a little bit about the Pledge Music experience. It must be very different than having a record company sort of checking out your demos and saying, well, that's good, that's not good. Does Pledge give you more freedom? How does that work, and how do you find the process?
I find it really cool. I think it's great for the fans too. You get to have really unique experience and purchase things that they're very unique. Like signed albums and handwritten lyrics and and just there's just a lot of, like, a megaphone that I've used before, an old megaphone. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You can't play paintball with me. I mean, it's just a lot of cool things, and so it's really unique. They're blown away. I mean, we're already at like over 90% of what
their goal is. Yeah, I mean, I have it in front of me. You're currently at 92%. By the time we put this interview out, you'll definitely be at 100. That's got to be heartwarming to know that fans are pledging in advance and want this album, right?
Yeah, it is, and in these times of rock music not really very often doing very well, it's at least a little bit of an indicator that there's that this project has some relevance and that the word is out there.
It really is. There's another project that I heard that you were involved in called Art of Anarchy with John Moyer and Bumblefoot. What is that project, and sort of what's your connection to it?
It's just something that I did, I got asked to do it, and I wasn't doing anything else at the time. So I put some vocals and some lyrics, and I sang on it, and did some production on it.
Right.
And I actually didn't really think that it was going to be that much more than it was. So I ended up having to do a couple things. So I did video and photo shoot, and I hope they do well once they find a singer.
Yeah.
I think that I hope they do well.
Yeah, I haven't heard it, but I'm assuming
it's
it'll be great.
It's not another band that I'm in. Like at this time.
It was a work for hire.
What's that?
It was a work for hire, I guess.
Yeah. It was, I like to collaborate with different types of things. It was different. I've never worked in within that type of rock before, so I tried to see if I could put my thing on it and sort of give it a screamo kind of vibe to it.
Now, I see that our time is running down here. Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts, I've seen that you've done some shows up in Canada and stuff. What are the plans for the rest of 2015? Do you plan on getting to Europe, Japan, and all that? Will there be an extensive tour?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to Europe in the spring. And we'll be going back again probably in the end of summer. And we'll be going to South America, to Asia, where we already have an extensive tour booked already in the States. We're going to be touring basically all of 2015 and probably like the majority of 2016 as well.
I think the obvious
internationally.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the obvious question is simply, how are you feeling these days? There's been a lot made about, the past, and there was even a death rumor. But how are you feeling? Are you full of energy? Are you good to go?
Oh, I can't wait. I haven't felt this excited about a record or about a new band or anything since I made Core.
Oh, that's
great. I'm just ecstatic.
Am I allowed to ask you?
Good.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. May I ask you a Velvet Revolver question?
What's that?
I just want to know. I was at that launch show at I think it was called the Warehouse in Toronto. It was just an incredible event. There was an energy. I saw the band after that many times. First album was brilliant. Just simply, what happened? Why was it not able to go on? I mean, it was just such a great vibe.
I don't know. I think there were a lot of egos in the band,
right.
And including mine, and but a lot of everybody was basically a star, a celebrity,
right?
And to get to make a group like that work, like a super group type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to make it last I'm surprised we were together for actually 7 years.
Yeah.
I wish we would have had another album under our belt, but it was great while it was great, and it was difficult when it was difficult, but I don't regret any of it, and
yeah, nor should you. I mean, it was
I don't know, yeah, it was cool.
Now with the band here, Wildabouts, what does that do for your solo career? Will you still be making solo records, or is this really your only focus for the foreseeable future?
This is my only focus right now.
Okay.
And it's hard to say like what will transpire. You never can say never in rock and roll. So who knows about the future? But yeah, this is my only focus. Like, this is it. This is where my heart and soul is.
And I guess because we're running out of time, I'll finish with this. Why not stay a solo artist? Don't you have more control on the output and more creative control, or do you just want to function better within a band environment?
Well, this is like a hybrid. It's kind of like it's between being in like a solo thing and being in a band. It doesn't have as many constraints as like a band like SCP or Revolver. But then again, we do also write together, and we talk about like creative ideas together. But it just still gives me more freedom than even like SCP or Revolver.
Absolutely. Well,
This is a perfect hybrid.
It really is, and I certainly wish you the best with Blaster. It the songs that are in Pledge Music. There's 2 songs up there right now. They sound great. The project is almost at 100%. So, good for you. And I know we only had 10 minutes, so I just wanted to thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I could go on for hours and hours, but it's been great.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. And hopefully you'll come up to Montreal at some point. Would be nice to see you again.
Yeah, we're gonna be working on another Canadian tour. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you.
I love Montreal.
It's
my favorite city in Canada.
Really? Well, if I may, why so? Just because of all it's got a European sort of flair to it, or?
Yeah, it's got a European aspect to it. It's just it's like it has an old feel to it, and European feel, which is nice. I like Europe a lot, and it's just Montreal reminds me of Europe, and so I like that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. Been a pleasure. There you have it, folks. That my interview with Scott Weiland, of course, of Stone Temple Pilots, or I should say, formerly of Stone Temple Pilots, Velvet Revolver, and of course Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts. Mark, always a pleasure. It's great having you on, and it's great that you have that new job on. Or fantastic.
Yeah,
good time.
Yeah, I'm excited to start it up, and again, the invitation is out there for your listeners. If they want to attend a taping, I would do my darndest to get them into Tuesday taping in New York City of that metal show. And before we go, I just wanted to remind your listeners that this podcast, One-on-One with Mitch Lafon, is part of Talking Metal Digital, which hosts a bunch of just great shows, including Metal Raps, which is another show Mitch and I do with another Mitch.
Yes.
And Mars Attacks.
A very famous Mitch, by the way, we should point out. If you are listening to us and don't know who Mitch Joel is, Google him, folks, because just do that.
This guy does TED Talks and all sorts of stuff. He's the real deal. So it's always fun doing those. We have 10 episodes up at this point. Then of course there's my show Talking Metal. There's Mars Attacks, and One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. And I did want to throw out there that you have a PayPal account if anybody wants to show a little love or support for what Mitch does. The PayPal account is mitchminute@aol.com. And check us out at talkingmetaldigital.com.
And I do want to add one thing about the Metal Raps. Folks, you've been finding the Metal Raps right here on our feed, but the first 10, that was just to give everybody a taste. Now we've moved it over on iTunes and iHeart and all those things to its own feed, the Metal Raps feed. So please head over to iTunes or Stitcher, Spreaker, wherever you listen to this stuff, and sign up, because that show is going to come out probably once every 2 weeks is sort of how we're doing it. And I think you'll just love it. It's great discussion about current rock news and thoughts and discussion of rumors we hear, and it's just stuff that we do that you won't necessarily hear, at least on this show, because we're doing interviews, right? So check that out, Metal Raps, and of course check out Talking Metal. That's the granddaddy of them all, right? We're just
we actually have an episode that we're about to post where you co-host. So that's episode 516 with special guest Rick Allen from Def Leppard. So
absolutely.
Check that out.
And do listen about the Raven Drum Foundation. That's Rick Allen's charity. And so pay close attention and then head over and donate to that, because, it's a great cause. Absolutely great cause. And got to support it. So there you go, folks. Another episode of One-on-One with an icon and Scott and me and Mark. That's a good one.
Yes.
That's top quality right there. Good night,
Yeah.
folks.
Good night.